All right, let's dive right in. Today we're talking about something that's probably in your kitchen right now, hiding in plain sight, ultra-processed food, or UPFs. And what we're about to uncover goes way, way beyond what you see on a nutrition label. I want to kick things off with a quote from our source material that is just designed to make you stop and think. You may be eating predigested food, right? It's a pretty wild thought, but what does it actually mean? I mean, how can food be predigested? And what does that say about what we're really putting on our plates? That's the big question we're gonna unpack together. Okay, section 1. Let's pull back the curtain on this whole predigested food secret. Now, the first thing you gotta understand is that this is not your typical health warning. We're not just talking about too much sugar or too much fat. According to the science, the real problem is actually buried in the industrial manufacturing process. It's how these foods are made that's the real issue. So to really get a handle on this, we need a simple framework. Let's break down the different levels of food processing, because not all processing is bad. You know, researchers basically sort all food into 4 groups. Group 1 is the super obvious stuff, right? An apple, a piece of chicken. Group 2 is what you cook with, oil, sugar, flour. Group 3 is just processed, like cheese or a loaf of fresh bread. But it's that last one, Group 4, ultra-processed, where things get, well, really weird. Think about it like this. A homemade apple pie made with flour, apples, sugar, butter, that's a Group 3 processed food. You're just combining ingredients. But that apple pie from the fast food place, totally different story. That's Group 4, ultra-processed. It's assembled from industrial ingredients using methods you literally couldn't do in your own kitchen. So here's the official definition, but let's just make it simple. UPFs are basically formulations of ingredients, mostly stuff you'd only find in a factory, and they're made using these intense industrial techniques. The key thing to remember is this: you could not make this at home. This is a product of a factory, not a kitchen. So that begs the question, right? How exactly are these things made? Well, some have called it food fracking, which is a pretty vivid image. First, they take whole foods like corn or soy, and they completely disassemble them into their basic molecules. Then, these parts get turned into industrial powders and these weird slurries. And finally, these slurries are reassembled, often using high-heat processes like extrusion, and pumped full of artificial colors, flavors, and emulsifiers to create something that looks and tastes like food. And this comparison just says it all. A homemade chip has 3 ingredients: potato, oil, salt. Simple. But now look at Pringles. It starts with dried potatoes. That's those industrial powders we were talking about. And then there's a whole laundry list of flours, starches, and chemicals to create that perfectly uniform, stackable crisp. Okay, so they're made differently in a factory. They're kind of weird. But why does that actually matter to our bodies? Well, because these foods are so heavily broken down, they completely mess with our body's natural fullness signals. Their soft, easy-to-eat texture means we can eat them way, way faster. And that rapid rate of delivery of energy to our brain and gut can actually make them more addictive. It is a perfect recipe for overeating. And this isn't just a theory. A landmark study from the National Institutes of Health actually isolated this exact effect. The results were honestly stunning. For 2 weeks, participants on an all-UPF diet gained an average of 2 pounds. When they switched to an unprocessed diet for 2 weeks, they lost an average of 2 pounds. But here's the kicker. This is the part you really have to hear. Both diets were perfectly matched for calories, sugar, fat, and fiber. The only significant difference was the level of processing. This is groundbreaking. It's basically proof that the industrial processing itself, not just the nutrients, is what drives weight gain. And look, this isn't just about a few snack foods. This is about our entire food environment. In the United States, an estimated 73% of the entire food supply is made up of ultra-processed foods. Just let that sink in for a moment. Nearly 3/4 of what's for sale is in this category. And they are hiding in places you would never expect. Think you're safe with healthy options? Think again. We're talking about most commercial breads, nearly all breakfast cereals, many of those healthy frozen dinners, most plant-based milks, and, yep, the vast majority of protein bars. So why is this happening? Well, the motive is pretty simple: profit. It's far, far cheaper for food companies to break down cheap raw materials and reassemble them with artificial flavors than it is to compete on the quality and taste of actual real food. Dr. Chris Van Tulliken, an expert in this field, he just nails it. He says it's an illusion of food. These aren't just foods, they are edible, food-like products designed first and foremost for profit. So, here's the bottom line. You now know the secret behind these products. The processing isn't just a detail, it's the entire story. The question is, the next time you're walking down that grocery aisle, what will you see differently on the shelves?